things rolling here. Close all the unnecessary crap. Thing. Alright, let's make sure that right there. Woof, my face. It's not a pretty face. Hello, folks. Hi, it's Exoteric. We're going to do a little bit of memory lane nostalgia time. Let's make sure everything's on. Alright. We do some of the tweets here. Get things rolling. See if we get anybody showing up in the chat. All things go. So here's what we're gonna do today. So stealth bombers. New players, if you don't know, hey, we got a couple actual humans in the chat, not just the bots chilling. I mean, I'm always happy to entertain the bots, but I love the humans too. Hey guys, look at that, Susie Cream Cheese. We got Hijabi Geek in chat. Thanks for showing up for a little story time. We're gonna fit some stealth bombers, and that's all right. I won't hold that against you. All right. We're gonna do some bomber fittings, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about some of the bomber basics. There's so much to talk about with bombers. I could talk about it all day, and I'm gonna try and leave this stream with a couple of solid builds for if you're interested in the kind of gameplay I'm describing. These are going to be kind of the low end of the skill point builds for you to get into, which coincidentally is also the best way to fly a stealth bomber for whale hunting. There's the all-out, I want to get top damage on this Roracle that we've just tackled, and you can go with the polarized torps and all that. Make it a real blingy ship. You're in a bomber, so it's a glass cannon, you know. In Eve, the only safe place to be is docked up. So if you're out there in a glass cannon and you've just decloaked and shown yourself after a jump onto a tackled ship and friends are showing up to shoot you, you know, maybe you don't want to do the fancy ship, the fancy build. Maybe you should start with the more reasonable one. I have rarely gotten anywhere near top damage, and you know, usually I can blame ping times, or to be more fair, getting good at being a bomber pilot is it's a very difficult thing to have in muscle memory. There's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of patience, and then go. And it can be frustrating. Fleets that have turned out to not have any payoff at all have sometimes been the funnest fleets of all. I'm just rambling. So let's see, dude. Hold on a sec. I got some water here. My throat's a little sore to start with. It's gonna be a fun stream. Hold on. All right, just water, I swear. Yeah. So the goal is gonna be to leave you with a fit for your preferred race that you can work towards. There's going to be a little bit of tactics, but more the number crunching side of it. I'm not demonstrating that. I still haven't subbed, so this is just describing the kind of pace and the situation so that you aren't completely in over your head when it happens. You will have been like, oh yeah, I remember, it's time for me to get ready for this when the scout says such and such or the FC says such and such in chat. Like, here's the next couple of things I gotta do. So it's going to be important that you take the fits and take some of the notions here and understand just what's in front of you if this is what you want to get into. I think this is the most rich gameplay, in my personal opinion. You're in a frigate. You've got almost every single thing in the game is better at everything else in the game, except for one thing. And one of the main points of Eve that I learned in my journey was every tool for the job. You know, don't don't bring the power drill to a hammer fight. This is a stealth bomber. There are a couple of things that it can do really well, a couple of things it can do terribly, but it's hilarious, and then there's really nothing else that you want to try with it. I'll get into those couple of things. I'll set up the basic scenarios of when stealth bomber. Stealth bomber what do is very complicated. I had the good fortune of being a teacher with Eve Uni for a little while, and one of the things that I got to teach was stealth bomber tactics. And that's when I was in the uni, and I had fits from the old laptop that I ran all of my Eve time on, that were specifically for new players who were in Kestrels to bring equipment that would simulate the bomber tactics, and then we practiced the tactics. I explained the bookmarking strategies, the aligning and timing strategies, and all that. If I end up getting enough folks interested in this sort of thing, that's exactly what I want to do over the holiday break, is take out a couple of special tactics bomber fleets. I'm not, just coming back to Eve after a long break, I'm not skilled enough to take out my Widow or I don't have the other ones, but I have access to 3 of the 4 Black Ops battleships. But it's not something that I've never been the Blops, so we're just gonna go with what I do know really well, and that's bombing. I'm a good bomber. You can find a lot of bomber kills and a lot of bomber damage and a lot of me on fleets writing reviews for things I didn't actually drop bombs or shoot torps for, but took out fleets to let them be the damage dealers, and basically I would be the bait or flush or like just the scout, like being able to FC a fleet in something other than, it's fair that a lot of our FCs in Eve really like to be aggressive and bring powerful stuff, or at the very least be the main player in the fleet, even if they're just flying doctrines, which is where everybody's flying the same thing, or a couple of key tools that are working together. I like being able to send the other people successfully into battle, because being a vet, I'm not quite as that was a long time ago, and I'm not as bloodthirsty as I used to be. What's more fun to me is watching other players get experience and access to the coolest freaking gameplay in Eve. You're flying a frigate, everybody wants to kill you because they know it's going to be an easy 30 to 50 million depending on how you're fit. And if you're real dumb and you're flying the bling fit, there's billion-isk bomber fits. And I know that sounds disgusting. Why would you ever do that? There isn't a good reason to do it, but it doesn't hurt to bring all that damage. One of the main points about being in a bomber fleet, it's just like having all of the troops in uniform in the military. There is anonymity in everything looking the same. The enemy can't tell which of the people in your fleet have a blingy fit. It's the statistics game of how many bombers can, their drones take out if you're not paying attention. You shouldn't be losing ships if you're all in the game in a bomber fleet. That's just a thing. I know it sounds weird, being the crunchy ships, but if you know what you're doing, you shouldn't be losing ships in a bomber fleet. It inevitably happens because there's a learning curve to this, like everything. I mean, I've lost ships in this. I think I've even lost one of my fancier builds. It wasn't like a billion-esque one, but I mean, I was flying the polarized. It was a gnarly build. So let's see. I'm talked up. I just want to make sure I'm not doing something stupid. So yeah, let's get tucked in here. I'm gonna start with a couple of things with the bomber numbers. Let me get Pyfa pulled up. I know we're gonna leave the beautiful world of E for a little bit, and we're just gonna focus on the number crunching. Let me get rid of all this other banner crap. Get rid of that banner crap. I think that's the right way to do it. Oh, okay. One more cough, one more support. Hold on. Alright, sorry about that. I'm dying. Alright, so let's get the Pyfa machine up here. Oh, why are there two of them? Wait. It's not letting me go. Thank you. There we go. Haha. So wait, no. That one. Hold on. That one goes back. Bam. Okay. Get my shit together. Alright. So, stealth bombers. In Pyfa, if you go down here, let's replenish some bomber fits here. I'm just gonna go ahead and... No, I'll leave them in there. I'm just not going to show you what they are. Okay. So here's the thing with the bombers. Before I get any further than this, let's just look at the actual four things, and I'm not gonna take a step further till I explain one basic thing about the bombers. We have purifiers, and we have hounds that have 3 low slots. Let's just pull up a hound. Alright, so with 3 low slots, this is where your ballistic controls go. This is what is boosting your damage for your ship. Okay? Both the Purifier and the Hound have 3 low slots, 3 mid slots, and all the bombers have the same highs. It's these mids and lows that's going to make all the difference in the world as to the kinds of fits that are best suited to these sets. Bombers are going to come in sets. Purifier and Hound are the highest damage output potential because you can fit 3 ballistics down in here. This is very important for your Blops fleets. You can push more damage with this. If everyone is showing up with a Hound or a Purifier, you have a percentage of damage that is higher than if everyone showed up in Manticores and Nemesises. What's the right way to say that? So here we have 3 mid slots. This is 1 less than the other 2. The other 2 are going to be better for tank or tackle. These usually every bomber is going to have either an Afterburner, which is going to be generally standard, or in the instance of specifically a bombing bomber that isn't really built for torping, it's built for bombing. That's the only one that's going to fit a micro warp drive. Anybody who says different is either very dumb or a very good player and isn't really considering that without teaching you the tactics that they're probably running with, or their homebrewed tactics for how they like to do these things. Just stick with the basics. Every bomber that you're doing should have an Afterburner unless you plan on being primarily a bomber fit, not a torp fit. If you're doing whale hunting, everyone is torp fit. You have a couple of high-level bombers who will have a bomb launcher. They're the only ones lobbing bombs because they know how to launch the bombs and aren't going to kill the entire fleet. And their job isn't even to launch damage bombs. In a whale hunt where you're trying to kill capitals with frigates, the only people lobbing bombs are lobbing ones that kill the capacitor, the ability for that target to repair itself or warp away or like have E-war or things like that. They're trying to kill the capacitor, and that's all their bombs are doing. So if you get caught accidentally lobbing a damage bomb at a whale hunt, you're probably not going to get invited back. Or somebody will be like, sure, you can come back, but you're gonna spend 2 fleets doing something with the B team. I don't, you know, because in a big fleet full of crunchy ships, a little mistake can cause a multitude of chaos. It is better that everyone be completely anonymous. Everyone is doing the same thing and is prepared. There are loads of ways to fly bombers and get good at bombers before whale hunts. Some people would argue that whale hunts are the best way to just throw somebody into the deep end and say, learn how to swim. Follow along, try and get it right this time, and try not to screw it up. And if you get, if you're trying, and, the FC's probably going to let you back if you accidentally do something stupid, like decloak the battleship. That's a quick way to catch crap from everyone in the fleet. Don't ever move your bomber unless your FC tells you, hey, you squad, you move your bombers to such and such. Don't get trigger happy. Don't do anything. These fleets, the FC knows so much more than you do. And I don't just mean that in the condescending way. I mean that in the way that he has scouts that you aren't in comms with. He has plans and has to time things to the second to do the most good at the time that it is most needed. So always defer your initiative in something like this to the FC. If it's clear that the FC hasn't noticed something, chances are there are better bombers than you in this fleet that are going to be able to poke him, and he will listen to them. So sometimes when it's time for voice comms to be silent, it's best you don't open your mouth. Just to be fair. Yeah, I know it sounds like, oh, that's kind of mean. This doesn't sound like fun, but here's the thing. It's a really complex clockwork geared machine that needs to come together at the right time. And if you are willing to sit there and listen to a bunch of, jokes for an hour while the targets are getting hunted, when it's go time and you have the next 5 minutes of the most glorious raining death from above you've ever experienced in your life, it makes that hour of waiting worth it. So anyways, man, I get so distracted. I'm here for nostalgia. I warned you. It's in the tweet. It's in the title name. I freaking love me some god dang bombers. Okay, so gonna try and get on topic because that is important. I want new players to be able to learn a thing and not just hear me tell a story or two. So, Hounds and Purifiers. This is what their setup looks like. It's a Tech 2 ship, so it only gets the 2 rigs. I know you're used to seeing 3 if you're still in T1 ships, but when you get in T2 ships, they're better ships, but you have 2 rig slots. So, it's important not to think that that's something you get. So here's your Purifier and your Hound. In a standard Blops fleet, you're going to have your Afterburner and then maybe like a Painter and a Sensor Damper. And then the bottom is just Ballistics. That's all it is. You're there to be the damage monkey. That's what Purifiers look like too. Purifiers are some pretty ships. They're not my favorite bomber, but they can do things that other bombers can't, and if I have time, I'll get to those special occasions. But that's more special tactics, and we're not getting into the special shit. Gonna try and keep this to something useful for you. So, back to the list of stealth bombers. Now, my favorite bomber, period, stop, the end, is the Manticore. The Manticore has good fitting potential. It has good CPU and good power grid. And with the fitting layout that it has, you can see it's got the ability to either have a tank here or to have a good tackle here. So in a Blops fleet, you will often have these guys who are not here to deliver the most damage and try and get the most deeps on Z killboard after the engagement. They're here to make sure that that ship doesn't go anywhere. And they're going to have Afterburner because it's a Blops fleet. They're going to have, maybe they'll have a medium shield extender here, and maybe Scram Web. Scram Web is a thing you don't really want to do in a bomber in any other circumstance. It's one of those things a bomber's terrible at tackling things. Don't ever do it for any reason other than a very specific doctrine for special tactics, and everyone in your squad knows what's going on. You're all on the same page, and you're all working towards getting good at that tactic. Otherwise, you don't ever fit a Scram Web. These ships, the Nemesis and the Manticore can do it. This one I love because it has a little bit extra fitting in the CPU. Let's just double check. Let's go back over here. Come on. No, just fine. Just whatever, dude. Oh, it's because I didn't have any in there. Okay. Oh, this is the one that has the most CPU. That's right. I remember why. Hold on a second here. Let me just get these two side by side here so I can talk about something. So, Manticore Fit, 412 CPU. Nemesis Fit, same module layout, but this one has considerably less CPU. This one, I think the power grid might be higher. Let's take a look here. 47.5. Nope, power grid is the same. Let's see, speed is probably higher. Let's see. Nope, Manticore is faster. The Nemesis has a little bit more hit points. That's what's happening there. Okay. So, these ships, 4 blobs, you could go all out, put a painter, put a scram and a web, or put a scram double web, or double scram web. It sounds a little silly, but capitals sometimes have the ability to swap fits on the fly. If they have support ships, they can undock, or they have their little bay thing. So, like, if they can power down long enough to be able to switch a fit, it makes things really difficult for a bomber fleet if they put a bunch of mag stabs in the bottom and all you had was 3 bombers with a long point on it, which only has 1 point and doesn't stop micro warp drives or anything. So like you can potentially get away from a poorly executed blobs if you're in the right capital ship and you have the right support with you. Multiple capitals can do nasty things when they know what they're doing. So the idea here is always have somebody who has scram web. If you're in the Hound, you wouldn't ever want to put anything more than a long point on here. If you did just a painter and a long point, that's fine. And of course, the Afterburner. It's kind of obligatory. You need an Afterburner. We're just going to go ahead and get them all open here. We're just going to talk about the same thing. We're going to just fit one real quick for the one set, and then we're going to fit one real quick for the other set, and it is going to be blops acceptable. If you get yourself to a bomber spar fleet, these fits will be welcome. You don't, like, they're going to tell you check your things. You can show up and say, this is my fit, and they'll be like, good to go. Just saying, these are like as boiled down as you can get. There aren't any exotics on them. These are only modules that a bomber FC, a whale hunting FC would expect to see on anybody showing up. Cool thing is, I ran into one of the old FCs from Bomber's Bar. Was it last night on Twitch? I don't know if let's see what we got here. So we got some humans in chat here. If you are an Eve fan and Bomber fan, go to Nova Valentis on Twitch. He is one of my old FCs for Bomber's Bar. He was kind of joking last night. A lot of people know him for his PvE content these days, but don't let that fool you. He is a devious space captain. If you ever hear Nova Valentis is doing a Bomber's Bar fleet, you should be on it. He's a funny guy. He's a real fun guy. He's very easygoing. He tends to get a little bit impatient if you do dumb things, like I was saying, but he's also very patient and loves being able to teach new people the funnest shit in the game. This is the funnest thing to do in the game. So, boom, there's our Hound, and there's our Purifier. Let's see here. Oh yeah, Nova, N-O-V-A, Valentis, V-A-L-E-N-T-I-S, I think. He's a real fun guy, and even if he's just streaming, you guys should check him out, because I just ran into him and was super excited last night, and that's half the reason I'm doing this stream. Is I've been trying to stay away from the bombers because, man, it's hard because I'm not subbed right now, and that's cool. Like money's tight. I'm hoping I can get some alternative revenue through streaming and stuff on the backside of things, and that's first thing I'm gonna do. First thing I'm gonna do is take out a friggin' bomber. Um, and if I'm lucky, I will catch a bomber's bar fleet. And if I'm really lucky, I will find enough people who are interested in doing some special tactics, and we'll train a little bit. And then one day we're gonna take out a freaking gnarly small gang bomber fleet, which is scarier than a Blops in my opinion, even though there's less moving parts. But we'll get to that. Okay, so here are bomber fits that Noah Valentis will accept in Bomber's Bar. I don't know who the current FCs are that are kind of running the show. He mentioned that he's still affiliated with them, so I'm sure even if he's not running a fleet, he's going to know what's going on there. So yeah, feel free to pick his brain. Go ahead and bug him on his channel if you want to learn more about bombers. He's going to be able to tell you probably more than me about whale hunting. I mean, it's a damn good pilot. Nothing I can say about that. All right, so we're just going to slap a couple things together. Manticore, because it's my favoritist of favoritist, we're going to do first. I'm just going to drag it over here because it's just, I mean, such a good ship. All right, one more drink of water here. We'll get a little thing, then we're going to hop into the film. All right, I'm just going to show you what this looks like. Let's see here, Torps. Probably not Torps. Okay, am I on here? Okay, good. Torpedo launcher. Prototype. Not polarized. That's expensive. Prototype. That's going to be the first thing you train into. If you look up Torps and you start training into Torps, both the ammunition and the... Do they still do that? Is it still... You're training the ammunition to get access to the T2 ammunition, but you're training the launcher skills to get access to the T2 launcher. I think that's probably still how it works. I'll be double checking all these things, because if I'm not able to sit in my old bomber fits, I'll be very sad. So, prototypes. These are the Arbalist. Then we have a Covert Ops Cloak. Once again, there is a fancy one. Don't ever put that one on there. If you show up to a Blops fleet and you have something very fancy on there, you better be able to tell them, look at my kill board, I've got 100 Rorquals. I'm flying the fancy shit today. They won't question you. If you show up to that and everyone's like, who are you? And like, it's my first bomber fleet, yo. And it's like, all right, what do you got? Share your fleet, or your fit and fleet. So all of us salty old people are just going to tear it apart. And they're going to see something blingy and they'll be like, no, it's going to look bad on our kill board. It's going to look bad on our kill board if we end up losing a bomber that costs half as much as the target. So don't do it. They'll send you away. Somebody's probably going to have some spare modules, drag you to a station and say, all right, look. So just keep that in mind. Bomber fleets are not about standing out. There is strength in the statistical number of identical things hurting someone's feelings that they don't have the ability to single out one person. So, Cloak, and here's the thing. If you are new, you are going to have a probe launcher. Hold on, I got somebody... Alright, apparently nothing. Whatever it was, my space cabbage guard dog took care of it. Alright. Probe launchers. Here you go. Let's see here. Let me just double check the chats. Oh, we definitely have a couple of humans. Hi, humans. Nice to share some Eve with you. We're doing bombers. Going down memory lane and, you know, rabbit trailing a lot and not actually accomplishing putting fits in here. But that's okay. I love them, I miss them. So here we go. Every bomber should have one of these guys. Now, if you are new, the point of having a shield extender in here is not that you can tank the enemy. The kinds of things you're facing on a Blops, if they're locking you up, like a capital ship is locking you up and they're about to sick drones on you or something like that, the reason you have a shield extender is to give you a few seconds to screw up. The idea when you're doing bombers and you're on a Blops, your hunter-killer has successfully tackled a capital and your Black Ops has bridged and everyone has jumped through the bridge, landed in that new system, and has locked and engaged the capital that is the target called out by the FC, and potentially multiple targets, but listen to your FC to put your damage on the one that he is calling. You're going to orbit that target at a specific range, and you're going to orbit it until you start to see you are being yellow boxed. As soon as you are yellow boxed, it is time for you to warp to a predetermined thing in space that you're going to warp to. First thing you do when you land, while you're locking that capital ship, you're dumping all your DPS on it, you're setting up your orbit. The next thing you're doing before you get yellow boxed is to find something in space ahead of you that your ship can already be aligned to in case you get yellow boxed. And if you're able to orbit around enough of the ship, you might need to pick the next thing that's coming up in your orbit for you to be pre-aligned to in case you get that yellow box. You can shoot off towards that. You just right click and warp to it, because if you get red boxed, you're very likely to die very quickly. A shield extender here is only going to give you the time to get hit once, and it's going to take probably most of your shields away in one hit. If something really big hits your very small, very crunchy ship, look at what this is without it. This is with all fives. I don't have all fives. Let's just go down to my main. Okay, there really wasn't any difference. I do have good bomber skills. But, if you don't have something that you can align to and warp to, you're going to get hit more than once, because you're going to have to panic, take a minute, find something, and try and click on it, drag your screen around and look for a thing. It's very likely, if you had been yellow boxed, you would have already been red boxed, and there is damage being landed on you, and you might now be in a pod, and you're still looking around, not realizing, oh, you've just been potted, and really what you should be doing is looking to get out of there. Well, no, there isn't anything else. Every time that you are in danger in a bomber, cloak. If you can't cloak, you warp. That's it. That's all there is. There's no master strategy beyond. Dump your damage on the right target at the right time. Orbit, know what it is. You can warp out to safety if you get yellow boxed. And if you get yellow boxed, you warp to that thing, and while you're in warp, you put your cloak back on. You land at something, usually you want to warp, you know, to 30 or whatever. You're already going to have a preset for some things anyway. I always recommend leaving warp to 0, and then if you want to warp to a specific distance, then anyways. Because if you, yeah, anyways. This is going to give you, you see those hit points, 2,600? If I put this on here, give me 2,000 hit points, less than 2,000 hit points. It's going to hurt real bad if you get hurt and you're in a bomber and something lands damage on you. That's just, the reason you have so many ships is so that at any one point in time, you've got a load of bombers just completely uniform. They don't know who to target. Kind of is statistical that you can get a good one or a bad one or whatever, but you're trying to lock up people that are scramming you or pointing you so you can warp off if you're that capital ship. So they're trying to kill you too, because go out swinging. If I'm going to hell, I'm taking you with me, kind of a thing. That's likely to happen, especially if they know there's no support coming. Some bombers are going to die if they aren't on the ball. So warping out allows you to recloak and warp back, and usually you want to warp back to the appropriate range because if you warp to 0, you're likely to be in big trouble on a carrier. You always want to be orbiting at your 20 to 22 if you are in a long point ship. But other than that, if you don't have a disruptor or a scram, and I don't recommend, if you're a new player, don't show up with a freaking scram and a web. Show up with a freaking target painter and show up with a sensor damper, because those will work at 30, 40 kilometers, and that's a much tighter ring or a much wider orbit around that capital ship. That gives you a little bit more option um, as far as number one, you're lowering the chance of you being locked, because if you're being scrammed or pointed, you can see if you're being scrammed or pointed, and you can hover over it and it shows you all the ships that have you tackled. If you're in an NPC, like doing missions, same thing. If you're in a site that has things like that, it's going to tell you who it is. So those are the first ships that are going to get targeted to get shot. So just having dams and painters in the distance lowers your statistical chance of being the guy getting targeted next. And if you're new, that's what you want. They need people who are more experienced, who can do the tougher job and stand a much greater chance of losing their ship. Being closer, you lose options, especially when there's bubbles happening. You're going to have bubble ships dropping bubbles if they have any support at all, and you're going to have to know how to burn out of a bubble and then warp to something in space to be able to save your butt. But anyways, if you're new and showing up, this is always a good option, and it's best served on the Nemesis and the Manticore, specifically the Manticore, because it has plenty of CPU to spare here, and it is a little bit chonky on the CPU. Let me see here. Let's go down to Ballistics again. These are going to be pretty easy to train into, so just get yourself right into the T2s. Doesn't really have, once you start training in missiles, you're going to have these by the time you're sitting in a bomber anyway, so I'm just going to assume you're running Tech 2s here. If the fit is tight, these are perfectly acceptable to drop to T1 just to give yourself extra fitting space. Let's see here. We'll do a damp. Let's see. Sort of compact. Am I looking right at it? There we go. Okay, super cheap. Your FC will probably tell you to make sure that you guys have them switched out. Sometimes we'll have everyone check for resolution, or everyone put a range, put a R in chat in your fleet chat if you're fit for targeting range dams, just so they can make sure they have both, because being able to clamp down on its targeting range and the speed at which it locks frigates is very important to having frigates doing damage on big things. It works in our favor to be hard to lock, which is another good reason we don't have a micro warp drive here, is because it blooms your signature. This gives you plenty of speed to avoid shots from whatever other, there might be tackle frigates who are in here and stuff. This is going to help you keep moving fast, because a stationary target is a dead target. So, yeah, I'm going to do a painter here. Look at these ranges here. These are the, here, even if I alpha cap these, bam, this is still 25, and they've got fall off here, right? So really, you could be orbiting your target at 30 kilometers and be just fine. 35, 40, whatever. I think, I don't know that it's super important for a Blops FC to micromanage the orbits at which his actual torp bomber pilots are orbiting. It is too much for him to manage at the time, and it's kind of incumbent upon you. He's dead, Jeff. it's kind of incumbent upon you once you get there to know the next few basic steps of locking the target. He's going to announce who the name of the target is, in what ship the target is in, and that's, that's it. It's up to you to know to orbit. It's up to you to know if you get yellow boxed, warp to a celestial and warp back. It's something that NFC is probably going to go over better than I will at the beginning of his fleet. A lot of the practiced ones that do this all the time are going to have their little 2-minute spiel and be like, all right, we're going to have some new people here. We're going to have some old people here who are dumb. So we're going to do this Barney style, and we're going to make sure everybody's on the same page. And they're going to go through step by step. Here's what I expect of you. And that's it. That's the last somebody's going to say of it until they tell you to execute that command in combat. They say, all right, decloak, approach the blops, jump, jump, jump. And that's when everyone's going to bridge. And you have to know, don't get too close before that. They're going to yell at you if you get too close and decloak everything. You guys have to spend 5 minutes warping off. Everybody decloak again. Let the Black Ops battleship find a new place so it can go and cloak again. Yeah. So it's important that you not be unprepared when you show up there. Just hearing the anecdotes is going to be the important part. You're going to hear the same commands. It's going to be the same thing. All right, so getting all over the place. Let's go back to. Let's see. I should have set up another one because Screwdriver has hella skills specifically for this. So let's see. We got loads of power to go over here, so we can get away with one current router. That's probably enough. Yep, boom. And now here's the thing. Current router doesn't take up much space, so you have the option. Look at how cheap this build is. So the Fit's only 15 million. The ships is 25. Usually they're going to be like 30 million. Unless you get yourself a good deal and actually do buy orders and stuff. I think that's what this is based off, is buy orders, not like, market, it's going to be inflation everywhere in the market. I keep looking into the game thinking, oh, I'm going to get that thing, and it's like, oh man, it's so much more expensive. So this is guidelines. This is just to get you in the ballpark here. But the fittings, you can see, when you're talking numbers this small, kind of hard to mess that up. Like, a cloak is the most expensive thing on here, right? So you can see the fitting space here. There's still loads of fitting space. So if you're new to this game, this is what you're rocking. Everything here is compact. This is a safe, easy build to show up to a bomber fleet in. And just because you're a new player, I'm just going to put the small EM thingamajiggy. What's that called? What are they called? The reinforcers? I think they used to be field reinforcers. I forget. The rigs. It's the frickin' rigs. No. What am I looking at? Am I looking right at it, folks? Right there. Man, I was looking right at it. It freaking bit me. Alright, so this rounds out your tank for the new players showing up to the blobs. If you show up in this fit, you will be given the pass. See how cheap that is? It's like only a couple of expensive things on here. This is a cheap fit. Total of 42 million. It's probably going to be like 50 million, said and done, end of the day. As for your torps, it is perfectly acceptable to show up with only 300 rounds in your cargo bay. If you survive this, good on you. Live to fight another day. Money invested in torps you have for another day. The chance of you showing up to a bomber fleet and actually having targets and running out of torps, very small indeed. It's very small. Unless you've got a whole day full of torping, you're not going to run out of torpedoes with 300 torps. I think how many do we fit in here? We're just gonna you should have like 3 reload stops. So if you're doing these, how many do we get into a thing? 36. So if you have that plus 3 reloads, it's 4 times 30. That's 100 total. Yeah. So friggin' 1,200 rounds is not necessary. This is what, 90? We can just say 100. So if you show up with 200 rounds, you've got a whole rack here. I mean, like 200 in the cargo bay. Of course, you have some loaded. You've got plenty of reloads. You've got torps for days. These things aren't lobbing shells like your blaster boat or your autocannon boat. Not like your rapid lights just unleashing holy rocket hell. These fire 3 torps every couple of seconds. That's it. So, um, yeah, this will get a stamp of approval. You don't have to spend the extra money on that if you don't want to. I just do it because, I mean, this is like as boiled down as you can get, right? Um, the likelihood of you needing to do scanning is very little. Uh, I would just keep it in reserve, put regular probes in here, because if something happens, there's bubbles, the fleet goes to shit, but you do manage to get out of the system before the jaws of their reinforcement trap clenches around you guys. Sometimes you're just on your own. I've been on my own, way out there at the ass end of the galaxy, and I don't have any way to get back to the blobs. Um, Sometimes if we're being counter sniped, like counter hunted. Oh, hey, how's it going? Alice, yes, here's this fit. I don't know how recently you joined us. This fit is specifically for being a brand new low skill point bomber pilot who has just now gotten into this and is going on a bombers bar fleet, or some alliances and coalitions still do bomber fun. This is going to be for if you're going on a blops and you don't know how to do the Tech 2 bombs, like the fancy bombs, and you don't know. Yeah, this is so that you can't go wrong by having an easy to fit probe launcher. The fitting requirements for a bomb launcher are higher than this. It's going to be harder to fit, and sometimes you can struggle to fit stuff in here. Now, luckily, a painter is really easy to fit. Sometimes if you run into a little bit of fitting space, you can just drop something and put in, a painter instead and get yourself an extra 5 or 10 CPU. But this whole thing is meant for you're not going to be bombing the capital ship that's just been um, snagged the next system over and you've just bridged in. You're not that guy. You're not the one that's killing the cap on the carrier. Your job here is to have fun listening to the sweet sounds of capital tiers in local and lob torps. So, this is the basic one. If you are going on to a fleet where your FC says, so we have the potential for seal clubbing today. We're not necessarily we're not hunting for capitals. We don't know that it's a target rich day today. Some days we have intel and we know that fleet movements are happening and certain things are vulnerable. So we'll do those hunts specifically. Sometimes your FC will be like, all right, we got 150 bombers. We're just going to shoot what we can shoot. If it's juicy enough that we can afford to lose a couple of bombers to attrition, then we're going to take that fight. And that's going to be no probe launcher day for you. You will have scouts, more than enough scouts, who are going to be very good at scanning, probing, descanning, getting those wormholes, getting those like gate camps scouted out and stuff. And your job is just here to either lob a bomb or to torp. Sometimes it's not both, so don't think that every engagement, if you're carrying a bomb launcher, is going to be about bombs and torps. It is often one or the other. Capital fleets, you're focused on the torps. If you're doing like doctrine fleets with Sovnal fights, a lot of times you'll get bombers who show up who can fling torps for good damage against big ships, but they're agility fit. They don't have this ballistic crap in the bottom if they can help it. They have stuff for their inertia, and they're fitting micro warp drives because they want to be able to align and drop torps or drop bombs and warp off. And then like whole squads will decloak, drop bombs, align to their out point and warp off. So your aligning speed is going to be very important, whereas your ability to do damage with a torpedo is not. So, and those ones, sometimes you will see a tank on them too. They'll have a little bit of a tank because you might be out there wanting to do this for a while that day. There might be big fights that you're third party in and you want to be able to do bombs repeatedly. And that's when you'll have a cloaky bomb truck who's reloading the fleets with bombs and stuff. So, um, but if you're showing up to the very first Bombers Bar fleet you're ever going to do, or your very first Alliance fleet, this is a perfectly acceptable fit. We can literally copy and paste. Will it let me copy and paste? That's what I want to know. Does think it's just gonna let me paste it in there. I'm gonna try because I love feudal attempts. What do you know? Oh no, it pasted a Manticore over there. Bollocks. Okay. It's going to be pretty much the same thing if you're in a Nemesis. Here, we're gonna pause this. We're gonna do the old saveroo here because I'm going to not lose this when I switch over to the bombing fit. All right. So that is your standard new to whale hunting. Let's give this a copy and all right, seal clubbing is gonna be a little bit different. Now, if you can fit a Tech 2 bomb launcher, don't bother. It's very, I think a Tech 2 bomb launcher only gives you an additional bomb slot. Why is it not showing a T1 bomb launcher? Jesus, come on, dude. Alright, see that? This one takes a hefty amount of power grid and CPU. So, fitting is not going to be the same. This is a thing that's going to take a little bit more suave. Let's see here. Under reason. Cool. You'll have to excuse my rustiness with all this. It has been a long time since I've done Eve, and so this is all basically just from memory and running Pyfa. I'm a little rusty at that too, so just bear with me here. It might take a little bit longer for me to do it the long route, but I know how to do it the long route, and for now that is good enough. All right, let's see here. Something else to bring up about these ships. If you are launching a bomb launcher, I believe this also balloons your signature. Is that right? No, what does it do? It affects something else. Yes, it does affect your signature. I don't know if you saw that. Just turning it off didn't help. When you have a bomb launcher, every ship has a bomb that is specific to their, is bonused for their race. So I am in a, concussion bomb? Because I'm in a Manticore. So concussion bomb, you can fit two in the bomb launcher. Isn't like a regular torp. Whatever direction you're aligned when you drop that bomb, it's going to go 30 kilometers in the direction at a particular speed. It's got its own velocity. It's going to go that direction, and then it's going to have an area effect bubble. And if a target is within that, it's going to take damage, a percentage of the damage, just like if you saw the missile damage application video that I did last week. I went real briefly over how missile damage is applied. The same principle applies with a bomb, except it is anybody else who is in that area is going to feel that pain. So if you lob bombs at fleets of ships that are clustered together, they're all taking damage from all of the bombs. And there's finer points, like, a squad should never have more than seven bombers in a squad lobbing bombs at a time, because there's damage resistance on that bomb. It's a physical object in space, floating through space. The enemy can target it, they can shoot it. If they have auto-targeting missiles, they can auto-defend against those things and shoot them down. It is a physical thing in space. So when you lob those bombs, they have their own resistances. They have their own hit points. And the resistances are high only to their own bomb type, their own damage type. This one has a resistance that is high against other concussion bombs because they assume you're launching multiple bombs as a squad of bombers. The thing is that at a certain point, if you have too many bombs, even though it's taking very little of the damage because it's a tiny signature within a big detonation area, having too many bombs can still add enough damage to blow up additional bombs before they are able to trigger and detonate and apply their damage. So a squad is timed to be able to launch bombs in waves, so that you only have 7, and trust me, 7's enough. Seven all landing onto a fleet of Macarials out in Nullsec is enough to give them a very bad day. But you generally have bombers who are chucking multiple, or you have multiple squads who are chucking bombs at different times, and you're decloaking, lobbing bombs, aligning and warping out, and the FC is timing it and like counting in his head. Red squad decloak, lob, or freaking lob your bombs, bombs away, bombs away, bombs away, align to target and warp out, align to target and warp out, align to target and warp out, and boom, he's done with you. That's it. That's all you get from him. And you gotta, I'm doing it, I'm on it, I got it, I'm decloaking, I got my bomb, okay, I'm at the right distance, okay, I lobbed my bomb, I'm warping away, I'm I'm cloaking back up again. And your freaking blood, just like that, all of a sudden your, heart is pumping. So much fun. So those fits, you're not lobbing the bombs, but because those fleets often include torping, we definitely at least want to have one of these down here so that we're still doing good damage. Now we have the option here to put in, let's see, what are people doing these days? I think the Inertial Stabilizers, we're going to check those real quick. I think that also blooms your signature, so we might avoid those because we've already got the bonus to our signature from this, and we want to decrease the amount of attention that we're getting. And if you're getting locked, we want to decrease, we want to make it harder for them. So we're increasing the amount of time it takes for them to lock us if we keep the signature small. So let's just look at it real quick. I'm going to guess that people are using nanofibers in the low slots, even though it tanks your hull hit points. It doesn't bloom your signature. So yeah, see, it just bloomed the signature further. A dedicated bomber, a dedicated bomber that is not there to torp things today, is going to have inertias or the nanofibers in the low slots here, and maybe even rigs, because that person's goal is bombs all day. If you're in the fleet where it's like, we don't know what we're going to tackle today, then this is the kind of thing you want to bring to that. So we're going to do nano, get a tech 2 in there. Let's see, our signature isn't large. We do have a little bit better line time. For these occasions, we're not using an Afterburner, so we're going to turn that off. The Afterburner is for torps when you're orbiting something lobbing torps, so that your signature is small, but you are moving fast and are hard to hit. That's all that's for. If you are doing bombs, you are never touching this. You are cloaked the whole time, and then you're decloaked for a matter of 3 seconds. You're lobbing a bomb, you're aligning to your out warp, and you're warping and cloaking back up again. That's it. So you never touch this. So when you're calculating your align time for bombing runs, you're gonna make sure you have that checked off, and then look over here. So right now, 5 seconds isn't a lot. But it's not great either. So let's look at rigs. Let's do the rigs. Got some small astronautic action here. These, I believe, low friction nozzle joints and polycarbon. These are there's you get a bonus to one thing, but you take a penalty in another. Well, these both improve your align time. One of them gives you less align time bonus, but gives you more speed, just like the nanofiber. It's basically the rig equivalent of a nanofiber, which is just a little bit of speed and a little bit of align time. So the other one is just align time. And because you've got the Afterburner here, and I like that this doesn't have any fitting requirements, so I'm just gonna stick with this, even though it makes me a little bit more glass. I'm gonna go straight to the low friction nozzle joints. This just dropped a whole second off of my line time. Well, let's just drop in 2. Okay, you can see there's diminishing returns on all things in this game, so there we have. It didn't quite give us an extra whole second, did it? No, only gave us a third of a second on that one. Still, that is a respectable align time. If you're doing torping and orbiting, that's a respectable velocity for avoiding incoming damage. So this is a good compromise here for a bomb fit. Let's see if we can get some other modules in here. If you're bombing, you are not going to be doing painters, you're not going to be doing sensor damps. All you're doing is decloaking, lobbing a bomb, lining out and like warping out and cloaking. So we can either do the emergency fit, so that, you know, we've got a scram web, because if somebody's going to get sacrificed, but you're all going to get the glory of that kill, somebody needs to have a scram web. If you've done this enough where you're doing bombs and you're doing enough of these that you know how to pilot your ship right, this is basically, I guess, something that will be acceptable if you showed up. Now, if it's a whale hunting fleet, don't show up with this if you are new. Just hear me now. I'm saying now, if you are new, don't show up to a whale hunting fleet with this. Couple of things we could do. Here's what I would do here. I don't think I can fit a compact in here. Nope, not a chance. So I'm going to see, oops, if a T1 is going to help me at all. So I'm at 2.9k for my shields. Does this help me more than hurt me? Oh. Yep, I screwed that up. Let's do that right. Okay. So right now I'm at 1.19. Alright, so it gave me 1,000 hit points. Now, in a crunchy ship, I know this sounds silly, but 1,000 hit points means you can get hit a couple more times by something you have just been the hero and had to scram web. This will allow somebody else to get maybe the other, you know, there's other hunter-killer ships that can do the job, but sometimes you got to be the hero and hold them for that extra 5 seconds. This is how you do it. If you show up to a bomber's bar fleet with this, they'll look at you funny, unless you've got a couple of bomber kills on your record. If you show up there and say, nah, this is how I prefer to do my whale hunting too, because I like to be the hero if and when that situation comes up, they'll be like, all right, I guess. They're going to expect you to know how to fly an electron bomb, though. Or, sorry, a void bomb. And not just that, a focused void bomb. They don't fly void bombs, they fly focused void bombs. This doesn't have a big sphere of doing damage, and being a void bomb, it means it only it kills the cap. It doesn't do damage to the ship. But a focused void bomb doesn't have a big area effect. It has this very small area effect. So if you don't know how to perfectly time the distance to that target, if you don't hit it at exactly 30 kilometers from the target when you lob it, it can go past the target. If you're early, it can miss the target, and it will have done nothing to help anybody. So if you show up, you better have a couple of good bombing runs under your belt, doing the regular bombing runs. And then if you show up in a bomber's bar fleet and you're like, nah, I got the focused void stuff trained, I know how to drop my bombs, I'm gonna do the damn thing, I'm gonna do it right, so and so can vouch for me, I've been in, you know, whatever, they'll be like, all right, don't fuck it up. So that's pretty much all there is to that. But your regular bombing fleet, having that little bit of hero point action there is always a good thing. Let's just look at our damage here. So I am not even double ballistic, still kicking out good damage. Now you see that's from the bomb. Let's turn that off there. There we go. So you've got good alpha. 4100 is hella good, especially because you're applying full damage, because you're generally shooting big targets. This is excellent damage application, and I love it. Even if you're a new player showing up in this stuff and you're doing 350, that's only DPS. Don't be dismayed by a low D. Like, man, I could bring a better ship. Nah, but the alpha though. The alpha is what is going to take down the big ships. Big ships have big reppers, and you need to be able to alpha past its repping power. And especially when the capitals that have that stupid invulnerability mode, God, when they put that in the game, that was like, all right, this gets interesting. This makes Rorqual hunting a little bit more challenging and a little bit more fun. So, yeah. Anyways, so perfectly acceptable fit for seal clubbing. and or if you've done enough seal clubbing, take this to a bomber's bar fit if somebody's going to say, no, you're good to go. Now, one more fit for the Manticore. I'm not going to show my special fits until later. That'll be a special clinic. Tattoo loud? Okay, cool. I can drop that down here. There we go. Is that a little better? Did that actually kill the right one? I can just mute that actually. Solve that problem in a hurry. All right, where are we at time-wise? Okay, we're past an hour. Let me make sure I get one more bomb fit in here for you. The same thing is going to apply to the Nemesis. And I'm just saying your rigs might look a little bit different for these because they don't have the same CPU. So especially if you're just getting into these, it's going to be a little harder. So let's see here. Let's do that one. So what does a T2 Manticore fit look like? Gonna look very similar. It's just gonna be slightly more damage. All right. If you are flying Tech 2 Torps, you have probably been torping things long enough to be trusted with sacred dread Garistas, like 500,000 Iska-piece torpedoes. They do the most damage and they are the bestesses. So, a Manticore, you can see there is 0 extra space here. And I am not going to be running this because screw that. Okay, so T2 Torps, you can see there's really good damage, really good alpha here. Now, because you're going to be doing Torps, if you're whale hunting, you want to be able to check that overheat. 665, gotta love that. This is a lot of alpha damage. This is a lot of alpha damage. It is also a lot harder to fit things having T2 Torps. So, also because if I'm a T2 Torper, I've probably done enough fleets that I really want to make sure that I'm getting my practice in with the bombs too. So I'm going to be focused void bombing. Training bombs takes a long time, but being the guy who can nail that shot with the focused void or the void bomb on a fleet at the right time is kind of awesome. All right. Still not going for the Tech 2. I cannot come up with a good reason to put a Tech 2 one in there. If you've got 5 extra CPU in a fit, I feel like there's other things that are more important than having a third bomb. Feel free to criticize in chat if you are a diehard Tech 2 bomb launcher, but I'm going to guess that's not a thing. Okay, we'll get our focused void bomb going here. Gonna get ourselves the best range we can on that. Let's see, we don't need the current router because we are not caring about our power grid now. Let's go over here. Let's get this what is it? Processor. Dealy Bob. Might need a Tech 2. Let's take a look. Yep, gonna need the Tech 2. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of that. I don't need it. Let's see what we got here. So I've got the disruptor. I've got the let's see here, the damp. This is going to be perfectly acceptable for seal clubbing too. It's kind of amazing to chuck in the rages if you're doing capitals, but also being able to put on javelins and having, well, the Dregarist is kind of the best of all worlds. You're just paying through the nose for it. If you're out there all day, just go with the Tech 2 Torps. They're amazing. If you've trained into them, you freaking know. Tech 2 Torps are the bomb. I mean, they're not the bomb. They're the steel. All right. So, oh yeah, look at that. It's still 500 DPS with javelins in a Manticore, which is the low DPS output. Oh god, I freaking love this thing so much. Okay. There's other things that you can do with this. You can't do the other ones simply because of fitting. I'd say the same is true for each of them, except the Nemesis. I haven't found a thing that's like, no, I'd rather fly a Nemesis today. No, no, just I like Lente ships, just not the Nemesis. Um, yeah. So let's see. We got that. We don't care about resistances. We can't fit because of our calibration fitting here. We can't afford to fit in. Let's try and squeak it in. I'm just gonna put a compact. I mean, it's only 2 kilometers, right? I'm gonna have to be orbiting at 15 something. Still have the compact. I would prefer to have a T2 Afterburner at this point, but I guess I'm gonna have to deal without. If you're just doing whale hunting, T2 Afterburner. Um, you drop something else. Drop the disruptor or drop the damp. If you're doing whale hunting with a T2 fit, make sure you got a painter, and you got something like what I always say, drop the disruptor, because having tackle makes you the target quicker than having a painter on a capital ship. He already knows he's gonna, take it up the ass. So it's one of those. Sorry, I shouldn't say things like that in here. Excuse me. Oh God, I'm dying. Capital ship already knows he's taken the full ride from the damage, so he's not focusing on the people who are painting him. He's focusing on the people who are scramming and disrupting him. So that's why I say if you're having a hard time fitting something, and you got plenty of other tackle coverage in the fleet, no reason you can't drop one of these things and be just fine, starting with this. Um, it does have a lot. You could just go with another painter and be able to maybe, I don't know, drop this and put a damage mod in there. I don't know. Let's see if that's even because painters are important, right? Can I just, yeah, no, okay. Let's just put another one of those in there. Can I now drop this down to the T1? Boom. I can only at most fit one small missile rig in here. Um, let's see, we got the riggers, which are part of damage application. If you're doing things other than whale hunting, it's not a bad idea to have these in there. This is the equivalent of like having a painter that's painting a target. Well, this is doing the same thing for improving the efficiency of your damage application. It's just internal on your stats. So you could do that, and I believe. Oh, you could get away with a T2 here. Look at that. You could get away with a T2 rigger catalyst. Gives you, which one was that? Was that the oh yeah, that was that one. Okay, so we've got that covered. Yeah, this we don't have the inertia for the bombing, but if you know what you're doing, this is a perfectly acceptable fit. Um, yeah, yeah. If you're doing both, this is perfectly acceptable. You can go balls out and just do the what is it? Small califaction, is it? Yeah, I think you can fit. Yeah, you can only fit the T1 in there, but it does squeak out an extra 30 hit points for you, an extra 30 DPS. And that's actually that affects your alpha too. That's not just your rate of fire. So that's or your raw base damage. So I mean, I guess that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? The raw alpha over time equals your DPS. So that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. So if you've got the engineering skills, you can do Tech 2 Torps with good damage. We'll just check a script in there, but assume to always, if you have the ability to run a script, you should always have one of each kind of script that fits in that module. Um, yep, Torps. Um, in this case, if you're going out doing whale hunting, I would recommend either, yeah, I would do 300 javelins and 300 rages. So that way, if you're running against capitals, you got rages, boom, good damage application. If you're running against, you're going to be screwing around in Thera because your HK, just got blown up, and it's like, well, that's our last HK, but it's too early, so we're all going to screw around in Thera and just blow something up. Then that's perfectly acceptable to just switch over so that you have better damage application for the javelins. Now the compromise here, if you are putting in the Dread Garistas, I believe they're not quite the same range. Let me just double check the range here. See, 115 on the javelins. Yeah, so they don't have the same range, but they do have the good damage application, and they've got higher damage output. So that is the thing. This is, oh god, this is just such beautiful numbers. If you're into torping, I mean, look at that. And this is the frigate that is not built for damage. This is the one that's built for utility, for tackle, and for all that other stuff. Or just easier fitting if you're a new player. The Manticore is just easier to fit because it's got the extra CPU in there. So let's call that a done deal, yeah. Personally, I am going to drop in the Disruptor when I save this fit. Reason being, I if I'm going to be flying a utility build, I'm going to be making sure that I'm helping out with the tackle duties. If push comes to shove, somebody's going to need to keep an extra point on something. I don't want to not show up with that extra point because that'll be more determining the outcome of the fight than if I have a painter. So, so we're going back to the Tech 2. Don't worry, still nice and cheap. I mean, our fitting is still pretty cheap here. And let's see here. What else can I get away with? If I'm not mistaken, the Calif I'm gonna check. I think the Calefactions are also uh, making your Torp launchers have more CPU requirement, something like that. Um, so we're gonna double check that. That might push us over. In which case, this would. Oh, we can't do it anyway because look, we need that to be able to fit the higher CPU items in here. Oh, I do have that thing in there. It needs to be compact. So there we go. Can I? Yeah, even the smaller one. I can't get away with the T1 processor. So what's something else we could do? This is where, since we can't add more damage, we've got a good utility build. Maybe nanofibers for a little bit of extra speed, or not nanofibers, the polycarbon engine housing will give us a little bit of speed, a little bit of alignment time. That's always good. Um, maybe we could. Let's see what happens if we put a Tech 2 on here. It's gonna go over. No, no. If you've got the good fitting skills, you can get this in here. What else can we do? I think even maybe a Tech 2 or a Tech 1 rigger. Yep. So a rigger give you a little bit better damage application, or what did I just call those stupid things? They're not the polycarbons. It's the I can't remember now. The inertial ones, Dagan. What's the inertial? Or raw speed. I can see any of those being perfectly fine here. So low friction nozzle joints. Or yeah, here we go. Nope, not the Tech 2. Okay, there. Oh, no, that's not the one. Oh, is that just the align time one? There we go. All right, so we've got a little bit better align time. We've got the ability to drop bombs with. I mean, it's not a great align time, to be honest. It's this isn't a bombing forward bomber. This is a torping forward bomber. But I mean, that's about as good an omen as you need for being a weapon of mass destruction there, right? Good enough for me. Okay, so that's a nice little fit there. Hound and Purifier. So a Purifier, I'm gonna put this one thing in here, and I'm not gonna say another thing about it. And if you know anything about Eve, you're gonna go, yep, okay. And if you're new to Eve, I will explain it to you later. This is something that you can't do very effectively in any of the other ships. This right here is disgusting just from that. This isn't something you bring to a whale hunting fleet. This isn't something you go seal clubbing with. This is special tactics. That's all I'm going to say. And I was anti-purifier. I think mostly because I'm anti-MR in general. But the purifier, I mean, as a bomber pilot, you know, if your FC is, you know he's going to be out there doing EM bombs today, and you've got the purifier right there. Bring the purifier. Get the damage bonus to your bombs. You know, because otherwise, if you show up in Hound, because you got good deeps on your high damage output Hound build, and your FC is saying we're chucking EM bombs today, well, you can chuck that bomb out of the Hound. It's just not bonused. So, you know, there's right tool for the job. You know, you shouldn't hate on the tool because it's a different kind of job and it requires it. But nobody else can do a 400 millimeter armor plate and do the kind of things that a purifier can do in the right conditions. All right. So you're a Tech 2 bomber. Well, we'll start with a T1, right? Let's just get the we're just gonna switch these back and forth with the other one in a minute here, just so you can see what it looks like. Just the raw damage of having that extra one in there. Okay, we're going back to kinetic. We're just gonna do Caldari Navy. If you show up with just Caldari Navy ammo to any fleet, nobody's gonna say anything. It's fine. It's got good range. It's got good damage application. It's perfectly fine. Okay, let's set this. That's all fives. I don't have all fives. So we're going to drop this down so that they're both on good torping skills, but, you know, take it with a grain of salt. So let's go back over here. Let's get New Whale Hunter going. Let's get Caldari Navy in there. Okay. So hey, why is that different? Okay, so Caldari Navy ammo, Arbalist. What are we looking at? 498. Does this get a different bonus? I don't have anything else on there. Why is that? Because they're overheated? No. What did I do wrong here? What is going on? Let me check the ship stats. All right, this is 15% to torpedo damage per level. I have 5 in Covert Ops. Okay. Let's look at that one. I don't know why that's flipped. But this is still 15% torpedo damage. What am I doing wrong here? I've done something wrong. Something terribly, terribly wrong, because these numbers don't add up. Is this still thinking it's overheated or something? No. Interesting. I wonder what's happening here. I think there's something bugged here. Or I'm missing something really obvious. Chat, feel free to yell at me if I'm missing something obvious here. That does happen. Got Tech 2 Torps. Why is that saying so much damage? That's what I want to know. I wonder if there's a special. Let's see, they're both on all fives. See, this shouldn't be happening, and I'm a little concerned that there's a bug in here somewhere. Um, oh, not a bug. I'm an idiot. I knew it was going to be an I'm an idiot thing. I knew it was going to be an I'm an idiot thing. So you notice I had Navy Scourges on there, but this isn't a Scourge boat. This is a Nova boat. How about that? How about that? Bloody hell. 560 as opposed to, was it 498? 560 as opposed to 498. This is having the extra ballistic in there. Dear God, that was painful. All right. So if you're doing the new bro stuff, you're just showing up for the new fleet. You're showing up with the same stuff. Um, Showing up with a probe launcher is I can't recommend it enough. I've been on countless Plops fleets, and I can say 20% of the time, maybe 25% of the time, they go horribly, horribly wrong, and I'm on my own. And I'd say half of those I survive because specifically I had a probe launcher and I was able to cloak up, scan a freaking wormhole out in the next system over, and be able to, hold a hole and get some people through it. And then there's nothing more appreciated than somebody who has a probe launcher when the S hits the F. That's there's so many good stories. It's hard to pick a good story and just go with it. I'm a bad chatter, but I'm an even worse storyteller. So save that for another time. Let's just get this out there for you. Oh, boy. Mm, I got enough here. I would likely put a scram in here or a warp disruptor, but we'll just put a um, sensor disruptor. Yeah. Looking right at it again, huh? Damper. It's called a damper. There it is. All right, boom. Look at that. Woohoo! Got 3 left. All right, and then let's see here. Rigs. What do we want to do? Um, hey, why is that a thing? There we go. I don't really need to do anything. I may as well just put some more damage on here. So that's probably gonna make me go over on CPU here. So let's do small processor again. You end up seeing a lot of processors on these things. If you do a lot of bombers bar, or like bombing in general, don't be afraid to have a clone that has like a 3% implant into either CPU or power grid, depending on what you're doing. Generally, CPU, as you can see, has always been the constraint for these kinds of builds. Some of the small gang tactics, you are trying to tank it, and so your power grid might get stretched. So if you love your bombers, don't be afraid to put a couple of like just 2+3s in there for the CPU and um, I don't know, maybe like a Torp one or something. They're both about 20 million apiece for a +3 implant. But just 3% to a couple of things goes a long way when you're talking about an alpha in the thousands. So yeah, let's see. So we got the processor in there. Let's do the small calefaction. Boom. All right, that's what we're looking at. 576. Let's see, we can overheat to 677. It's pretty good. This is T1. I mean, that's for T1 damage. I mean, that's outstanding. You've got an alpha of 44, 46 on this one, and you've got an alpha of 4850 on this one. And these, I'm just cutting this short by saying that these are the Manticore. Once again, you can replicate these fits for the most part on a Nemesis. It's got the same module layout. It's not built for the damage. It's built for more utility roles and a little bit more hero work, frankly. The Hound and the Purifier for your Blops fleets are your standard damage dealers. They're going to get the highest damage because they have the extra low slot. And you can see from fitting this sucker, I was even able to get a damage module in my rig. So super duper high damage. So let's take one quick swap over here. Do do do. Oh yeah, Hound. It's like, why did those look the wrong color? We're just gonna do it this way. I'm just gonna tag it a T2 just so we can get this done here. Get those, go into the thing with the variations. Tag 2 and boom, boom. Let's get that rage on here right now, just so we can see what a good capital is going to be taken. Oh, I did Scourge again. Look at that. Even with the wrong torps, that's still good damage. Okay. 1000 DPS. Okay, yep, 1000 DPS. 1000 DPS. Okay. So we're definitely over here. We're gonna have to make some sacrifices. We might not get to keep that 1000 DPS. But it feels good, right? Like just seeing, wait, isn't that a frigate? Didn't he just? I'm new, but that's a frigate, and that frigate is doing more than a battle. No, okay, yep, that's how this game works. You get the one chance for glory lobbing that kind of damage. And granted, this can be higher. Ballistic controls. I'm just gonna show you how ugly it gets. It's fine. You're never gonna make one like this unless you're really let's see here. Is it the fleet ones? Which ones is it? Let's do that. And then we're gonna go straight up polarized. This is gonna be easier to fit, thankfully. All right. So there you go. And this is without implants. This is without boosters. There's a 1320 DPS frigate. It's a thing. I think the Caldari Navy ones are the same, right? Yep, yep, yep. Okay, but once again, reality check. You're not doing that unless you've flown a lot of these fleets. That one actually you do have the potential to fit a bomb launcher. But if you'll notice, the reason I say no, 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 if you are new, polarized are expensive. You can see those turrets, 30 million apiece. What it also does is it kills all resistances, which means your raw hit points equal your effective hit points. No resistances means you are very glass cannon Betty. So only do the polarized if you really know what you're doing and you feel like in your soul, your missile man pew pew soul that today is the day to get max damage on a kill. That's when you undock that hound. I've got one. I've got one. I some days I feel like it is the day and I have taken out that hound and done some beautiful work. Generally speaking, you're not going to do it. It's very expensive and it is kind of dumb to undock a frigate that easy to kill that has no way to defend itself against an Atron. An Atron will kill you in about 8 seconds. So, all right. Nova, let's go back to the variations here. We're just doing plain old Tech 2, which are harder to fit. We're going to lose that Califaction Catalyst, which brings it down a little bit. And we're going to drop in this extra one here. Now, I don't know if this is enough. Let me try. Nope, look at that. So if I had a 3% implant, or even a 1% implant, I could get away with this. But because it's a Tech 2, I don't have the ability to fit a Califaction Catalyst in here anyway, so there isn't any way for me to squeak more damage out of this unless I sacrifice my like teamwork modules here. You're not soloing in this ship. You die if you're caught with your pants down being alone in this ship. So this is a teamwork build. So you have these things because that's what it takes to take down a target instead of tank or instead of whatever. So you're doing the best damage you can do for the cheapest Tech 2 build you can get here. So we're just going to go straight to doing 2 small processor overclockers. And I know that sad face using 2 of something in here couldn't make it work unless we used an implant. But let's be fair, one ship to the next may not need it. And if you don't need it and you get potted, then you have now also lost that, So what program is it? This is PYFA right now. PYFA. This is the Python Fitting Assistant for Eve. Currently, we're on the version 2.38.1 build, which just came out a few days ago, and they are very good about keeping it updated. I have used this for years and years and years, and when I stopped playing Eve, I haven't really touched this for a couple of years. Just got it going again. Oh, can I write it? Sure, sure, sure. No worries, no worries. Yep, you're doing just fine. Yep, if you search for PYFA here, PYFA, um, I'm if I remember correctly, it takes you to a third party thing. If you're looking at the right thing, it's like, one of the main downloading. It's not what is that stupid thing? It's not Dropbox. What is it? Anyways, you'll know it when you say I feel like an idiot right now. I'm just gonna look it up so I'm not telling new players to go do the dumb thing. Hold on. Oh no, let's get rid of that. All right. Yep. I just typed in Python download, and the very first thing that came up was GitHub. And if you click on the thing, it just says releases. It's got v2.38.1, and it'll have down at the bottom if you've got a Mac or a win.exe is the one that I do, or you've got the WinZip or just the source codes because I believe it's open source. So, um, yeah. So if you go in there, it's going to download on your computer, and you have to do the little yes, allow it because it's a foreign thing because it's coming across the planet. I don't know, whatever. My browser Chrome does not like unless I give it special permission to download that particular file. But yeah, if you're playing Eve, Python is a godsend. It's a way easier to use than using the in-game fitting tool. Eve didn't used to have really a fitting tool to simulate fits. You had to have the modules, and you could, if you had the ship and the modules, you could swap them on there. And somewhere along the line, we complained enough that they put one in the game, but it's still crap. So it's really just for checking to make sure you can fly a build that someone has linked. Like, hey, we're taking out, this Drake Doctrine. I don't know. That's where you would click on it and it'll give you the check marks to say, yes, I can fly that. But otherwise, that thing is kind of dumb. So, anyways, yeah. So the Hound and the Purifier are going to be your go-tos if you want to be the damage monkey. Let's see here. We'll just double check that even though this doesn't have that other thing. Well, the other one didn't either, did it? No. I went with the shield because I'm trying to keep new players alive in this one. Oh, yeah, that was a T2 build. Let me switch over to the Hound T2 build. No, wrong one. Manticore T2 build. Um, yeah, no. Okay, there we go. Let's get the bomb launcher off. So overheated. Oh, we still don't have that in there, do we? Which that'll take us over. So yeah, how about you just take my word for it? That is the standard high DPS build. If you show up to a fleet with a bunch of hounds, you're just gonna fit right in. They're gonna be so happy to see another hound there because they're such good damage dealers. All right. There we go. So that's that one. That's your Tech 2 build. We might need to get a little creative here if we are going to. Oh wow, I was really typing funny things. Okay. If you want to do the bomb launchers and you want the T2 torps, yeah, that's not gonna. It's going to be very hard to fit all these things, as you can see. And you're going to need to have an implant here, or you're going to... Here's the thing. If you are a good enough bomber, you can afford to drop this for the team because we're relying on you to be better at bombing than the guy to your left or your right. So putting another painter in here, putting whatever the heck you feel like putting in here, just so long as, let's see, is this gonna allow me to put something else in here? No. Um, I'm gonna be honest with you. I have flown with. I'm gonna see if it'll let me do it here. Hold on. I don't remember if it requires an implant or not. No, that's not gonna work. I must have done it with an implant then. Oops. I wonder if they changed that a little bit. I don't remember needing to do this, but I do remember having the rigger in here. I have flown without that because we had so many people in the fleets. When you've got 150 people in the fleets, you've got the bases covered. So I've just gone ahead and just done this. If I'm not like if I'm here for high damage, I'm not out here trying to be the guy doing the void bombs. You need to be reliable, and it's more about doing your bombing job right. And so I'm not going to be flying a high DPS torp boat if I know that my team is relying on me to be a good bomber. So I'm not going to sacrifice all this crap and put in all the, it's not about that at that point. So just makes it easier to do it this way. Oh, we already got that in there. It's perfectly acceptable to show up with this. Or if you want to throw on, I don't think a damp is going to fit this point. Yeah, see if you have an implant. My bombers have the let me see if I can remember. It's the rapid launch. Is that the one? Let's just do we'll just go through these one by one and find our yeah, rapid launch. So this does not help your alpha. This is just for your torp rate of fire. Okay. So it improves your DPS, but not your volley. Is it 6? I want to say, don't remember if it's 9 or 6. Yeah, it's 6. There we go. So if you're doing that, then you're not going to be able to run the implant here. But this is plus 3 CPU. If you're going to be going out on a good PvP fleet, on a good bomber fleet, there's nothing wrong with not having a clean clone. If you know what you're doing, you know that you have a very good chance of losing your pod to. If you're lobbing bombs, you're only a null sec. Oh, hey, we got another viewer in here. How do you set up Pyfa? Oh, cool. Yeah. Um, any question that you might have, you're welcome to ask it in chat. I want to get better at answering questions and stuff, but Eve University is where I learned most of that stuff. And if you're a new player getting into the game, that is a great place to just start your Eve experience. I wasted a lot of time in a couple of crappy corps at the beginning because I had real world friends who were in one, but he didn't know that that was just a crappy corp because he was brand new. So we were basically used as like minor cheap labor and occasionally bait for their PvP ships, like it wasn't great. And then it was probably a full year and a half, 2 years later, I don't remember, got into Eve Uni and it took about 2 months of classes and I was like, wow, I already have learned more in 2 months than I had in a year and a half playing the other way. So um, they've got excellent web pages. Like their website is fantastic. If you're playing Eve, you should just have that bookmarked in your browser, because you're going to look it up. If you're doing PvE, you're going to be looking up, like, oh, well, what do the rats have for resistances and this and that. If you're doing PvP, you're going to be looking at, okay, well, what kind of doctrines do the fleets at the, like the nullsec campus fly, so that I can, train into those ships you can fly. And then that's just going to get you better and better and better equipped to get into the bigger meta of the game, with the Sovnol fights with thousands of players and all that. So yeah, Eve University is amazing. There are other ones out there. I'm not even gonna say, like, trash talk and say they're they're not bad. I don't have experience with a lot of the newer ones that have come around, because I was in Eve Uni for years and years, way back when, like 10 years ago. So um, yeah. Anyways, yeah, always feel free to go check out. Like, if I don't answer something well enough for you, just type in Eve University and go see what Eve University website has to say about it. Generally, I'm going to be on target. Um, Yeah, so we got the bomber fits here. Does that help you out? Is everybody tracking with the bombers? Do we have people who are thinking about bombers but haven't trained into bombers? Anybody who wants to know what this stuff is I'm talking about, this magical torping from above fun time I'm talking about? I'm just hoping we can get a couple more freaking bombers interested before the holiday fleet time, because if I'm taking bomber fleets out, you can take out any of these T1 fits that I took out today. You I can make it work. I will probably prefer if you don't show up in a T2 fit and like fancy and all that, because I've been away from Eve for so long. We're probably gonna lose ships. We're probably gonna lose all of our ships. So ensure it before you show up. But yeah, that's gonna be the goal. To so long as ships are blowing up, I don't mind yours. I don't care. So long as ships are blowing up, it's beautiful. I like watching it. Space, like, Final Frontier. Boom. Now you're in a pod. Boom. You got bubbled. You couldn't go anywhere, and you got shot again. Now you're back in a station. You're going, what just happened? Oh my god, I got to do that again. When's the next time bombers are going out? You'll screw it up a few times, and then the first time you get it, it's magic. Magic. Okay, so yeah, bomber fits. You hopefully, if you followed along, or I will do a highlight clip thing that just so you can pause. I don't know if I'm gonna use that right, but the goal is so that you can pause the highlight reel and just take my fits. And by all means, use them. These A lot of these fits are, the special tactic stuff are gonna be things that I made. This kind of stuff existed before I ever got into bombing. This kind of stuff is just a standard meta that was so distilled and boiled down. Like, nobody can really make this a whole lot better. There's only so much you can do with the frigate and torps and bombs. So there are, of course, other metas. I have shown you some of the basics for the whale hunting, and then, like, a steel clubbing Manticore is always a good time. um, T2 fits great to train into, because if you like doing PvE at all, a golem with T2 torps is a sight to behold. um, yeah, it's maybe my favorite thing in the game. Next to flying a torp frigate is a torp marauder. So um, let's see. I think I've hit all the stuff I wanted to hit here. We're at almost 2 hours. I'm gonna wrap this up at 2 hours, so we're gonna have like the next 5 or 10 minutes here. If anybody has any questions, feel free to type some questions in. If you want to know about bombers, or if you want to know about Eve, or if you want to know about, I don't know, how good Avenger is at wormhole combat. I don't know. Go ahead and like, interaction. Very excited to see we got a couple of actual people that have popped into the chat. Oh, and have left the chat. Okay, we still got a couple in here though. Yeah. Any questions from anybody? Type them in now. I don't think I'm on delay, so it should come right through. Did I do it again? No. Okay. Yeah, this just makes me happy. That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Oh, you're so new in Eve. Cool. Yeah, I appreciate everyone sticking around. Looks like we got a few actual humans in here. A couple of the bots keeping me company still. It's always nice to see another TV viewer who's been my constant companion since last week when I started streaming and stuff. So yeah, I guess if we don't have any more questions rolling through here, I'm gonna get this set to go. Hmm. Hmm. Should I do it? No, no. I'm gonna save all the special stuff for some other time. If you love bombers, show up for another bomber chat. Hopefully, I'll be a little bit more cogent and coherent. Still a little hard for me to get used to talking a lot. I'm not a talker all the time, and so using my words is challenging at times. I'm doing my best here. I'm doing my best. I'm a big nerd, and people on here are also big nerds, and so like I want to just be a nerd with the other nerds, you know? If I know a cool thing that I can share and help somebody be a better nerd at the thing that they love, job done. You just have to put up with me. Oh, a mustache explosion of water. Yeah, you just have to put up with me sprinkling and blabbing. So, but if we get more people in the chat and I'm paying more attention to the chat, maybe I can actually like interact with the chat more if there's questions. I gotta work on getting some followers and doing some more regular streaming and try and do this thing. So, yeah, anyways, thank you guys, gals. Love you all for showing up. It means a lot to me that you guys are geeking out with me for a little bit. Feel free to do the followy bit. So I'm going to try and get these videos as I get more established here. I'm gonna do a real quick edit and also chuck them on the YouTube channel. I started it like a year ago when I was the wife talked me into streaming some Warframe because she's smart and she knows that this would have been a good outlet for me, but I did not understand what I was doing and failed at it miserably. So I'm trying again. I'm using my words this time. I'm doing a lot of talking, which is frankly the biggest challenge. And yeah, so check out the stuff. I'm on the Twitters usually every day. Exo Stratagems. I think that is on my little Twitch page there for going to Twitter. Oh yeah, it's on the thing down at the little. I got a little banner down there that says "Go to the place." That's where you can talk to me on the interwebs when I'm not on the thing. Um, yeah, I guess that's it. Okay. Um, take care of each other. Fly safe. Have a good life. Do something nerdy. Enjoy your freaking weekdays. We got to get through this week. I'll be doing some streaming, and I'll probably be really salty as the week progresses. I've already started out salty, and it's gonna get better from there. So take care, everybody.